And I think I'm live. Oh man, this lighting's crazy. All right, hold on. Hold on. Nope. Hold on. Like that. Hold on. If this doesn't work, forget it. Okay. Fixing that. Alrighty. Hello. Welcome. My name is Austin, and the original name of this channel was Eco Austin, but I now am trying to improve and make this an official podcast. Like, I want to get a vibe going, you know? So without further ado, let me break it down for you guys. So basically, I almost forgot. So I'm trying to do this podcast thing, and I'm trying to make sure the recording is also recording on my phone so that I can put it on Spotify as well. The name of the Spotify account is Ecokinesis. I'll explain later. Give me a second. Ready and go. Okay, hello everyone. This is Austin Myers, posted, ready to actually get this whole thing started. So, like I was saying before, normally this channel goes by the name Eco Austin, but we are now going in a different direction. So a lot of updates have been happening, but I care mainly about agriculture, our food supply, nature, things like that. It seemed to me that the direction of the channel was more food focused, but I start to realize that I have way too many questions to lock myself in, put myself in a box that is, only talking about food. So that's why I went the direction of I want to be seen as the middleman for nature. Nature can't really speak to us in our human languages, so it is up to us to kind of translate and understand what it means to be the go-between, be the middleman from nature and society. So I want this to just grow as organically as possible. I've said that before in the past, but how these videos are going to be is it's going to be live podcasting Monday through Friday, maybe Monday through Saturday. We'll see how things go. And then I'll just let the world decide if this is good content or not. So, definitely I will look at the chat, see what's going on, things like that. I want to interact with you guys. I want to debate with you guys. I want to argue even. So without further ado, let's get this going. So episode 1, I want to talk about environmental justice, just real casual. So, there's a lot of things going on in this world, but I feel like it all goes back to how much we do care or how much we don't care about our environment. So when you think about environmental injustice, right, I can almost predict and understand the well-being and health of a community if you just give me the zip code. And the reason why that's powerful is because of what's going on today that really isn't in the news that often. So if you think about environmental injustice, environmental racism, it always affects minority communities for eons, for ages. This is before slavery. This is, before the Americas. There's always a situation where those who were looked down upon did not have the best food available, did not have the best water available, did not have the right air available, things like that. So if you think about, pollution, so air, water, light, sound, etc., we will all eventually need cleaner water, food, and air, and even safe housing. That becomes a detriment because of how people are treated, not just here, but around the world. So going down the list, there's air pollution, which has been an issue for as long as I can remember. You got these factories releasing all these chemicals into the air. You have people, unlawfully burning things, and that goes into our air as well. You got all these Hummers and Jeeps that are not hybrids on our roads, just messing everything up for everybody, flora and fauna. So, with that being said, air pollution has always been an issue in my memory, but at the same time, it seems like nothing really is being done about it. And almost to the same extent of, chemical waste as well. Because you see, when it comes to chemical waste, oftentimes we don't really think about what we're doing. So chemical waste can be anything from, factory level where they have, radioactive stuff or just things that aren't good for the environment that was made in the lab, and they just toss into a river or they just bury it instead. That happens a lot with radioactive stuff, but you get what I'm saying. So manure, a dog using the bathroom outside and you not picking it up. Well, when it rains and that becomes liquid and then there's runoff into our sewage systems, that makes the sewage system work that much harder to filter out all the bad stuff. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but I remember the Simpsons movie. It was a whole big deal with the EPA coming in there because he dumped a whole bunch of pig shit in the lake, and that caused a whole federal shutdown of Springfield. Now, I'm not saying that that's real. I'm just saying that that can really, really happen. Now, another issue probably is lead exposure. So I haven't had to deal with it, at least I don't think so. But I specifically remember my parents saying, growing up in public schools at least, they use lead paint. And when the laws changed that was actually bad and kids were actually eating lead chips from the paint from the wall, they came into schools and got rid of all the lead paint. However, even though that's good and fine and dandy and all, it still doesn't hide the fact that a lot of these schools, inner city, did not and will not have the funds to remove all of their lead in their schools. And that's just a small example. But just think about that. People thinking that it's already gone, it's already, a done deal, it's over. But at the same time, it never went away. It was just out of sight, out of mind. And because of that, it's still going on today. I'm going to have to look more into it, check my sources, but I'm pretty sure that's the case, that there's no way that all these poor inner city schools were able to get all of their lead usage done and over with immediately as soon as the government said so. Another one, water pollution. So if you think about water pollution, that's probably the most dangerous of all the pollution problems that we have. Because if you think about water, we all need it. Duh, right? But at the same time, like I said, we've been using it all this time, but it seems to have always been getting worse. We all know about the BP oil spill. We all know about you not being able to collect your own rainwater because it's not cured yet. Now, listen, I'm not saying the government's right about that. I'm just saying, you might want to tread lightly, because what if the rain is passing through all these pollutants in the air and creating acid rain and you're drinking that? So I wouldn't advise harvesting your own rainwater just because you're anti-government or something, all right? So, and then something that doesn't really get touched on, scientists that know better talk about it. But on the other side of it, you got climate change. So, and when I'm talking about climate change as well, I'm talking about extreme weather that is a positive or negative feedback because of what we have done to the environment. So, yeah, droughts, yeah, flooding. But how about hurricanes? How about Hurricane Katrina? How about the fact that affected New Orleans, majority minority city in the deep south of Louisiana, and it wasn't done as expediently as you would think for something to hit that hard, and it was flooded for that long, and people were still living in horrible conditions for that long. It's still happening now. But just something that is crazy about that is the fact that it was something that couldn't be stopped because it's natural. But it's almost as if those people that lived there were punished because of their geography. Like, how was that their fault? Like, everybody should have pitched in. There should have been more government help for sure. I'm talking about local, state, federal, all that. Like, they took too long is what I'm saying. So then you couple all those issues with the environment, with the fact that air pollution, chemical waste, all this exposure to bad things, right, ends up leading to asthma, something that's not genetic, something that they develop because of their environment. You got obesity due to lack of good, healthy food, fresh food, poisoning even, lung cancer in elderly, diabetes type 1 and type 2. Same reason, like just a bad diet due to not having healthy food available because you can't grow anything over there. And even mental health concerns. I can only imagine what it'll do if you live in a situation where you actually see the smog in the air. You drink the water and it just doesn't taste right. You go and you're hungry, you want to get groceries, but it's an hour and a half away from where you live. I can only try to fathom how much that would affect your mental fortitude. That's a challenge within itself, to make sure you're staying strong so that you can find the right thing. So those illnesses, those health concerns, you also have to factor in, wait a minute, how about access to healthcare? They don't really have access to healthcare because they can't afford private health insurance. So they try to stay away from that. They're already in a situation where their money is going towards other things. So the fact that they can't afford healthcare, when they do get these, signs of illness and sickness, they don't even try to go because they know they can't afford it, even with copay. So then you got all these home remedies that people try to come up with. Some of them are good, but that's kind of hard to do when there's no access to fresh and healthy food, nor organic food, nothing with, the right antioxidants to get your body going. So it's this perpetual loop of trying to get better when you don't even have the best stuff around you to get better. You got no doctor because it's too expensive, and you don't have the healthiest of foods. So it takes that much longer for your body to react to positive things that you're taking in. And then on top of that, let's just say, you've had enough of what's going on in your city. So you're like, all right, this year I'm going to vote. Voter suppression is a thing. The fact that there are barriers to register, such as there's many people in minority and impoverished communities that don't have IDs, that don't have driver's license, that don't have a passport. And you need those things in order to register to vote. There has to be other methods that can help them end up voting. So then let's just say you do have an ID and you are registered to vote and you've been that way since you were 18. Well, if you live in a situation where there are a lack of polling stations and it's really far away and you don't have a car, yeah, you want to vote, but it becomes that much more of a hassle, that much more of a challenge to actually make it out there to vote. And I'm not talking about just the president. I'm talking about the councilman, the alderman, the mayor, the governor, and so on. There's so many other, representatives of us. That's what it's supposed to be. A democratic republic is what we're supposed to be. We have representatives that we vote for that speak on our behalf, that have like-mindedness with what we voted on. But guess what? I hate to break it to you. The people who are there, who are supposed to be the representatives of the people, tend to only be speaking for, the upper echelon of people, the middle class and up. The middle class make up the majority of our society in terms of population, but the gap between below the poverty line, middle class, and what's considered wealthy is huge. There's major gaps in between all three. So that means our mindset is not placed at the same point in time. We're not going to agree on what needs to be focused on. And because of that, you have people losing hope because it seems like no matter who you vote for, who's in office, there's going to be a demographic of people that voted for that person, but the agenda that they push is nothing that they thought they were voting for. And that's the issue right there. So the question is, what do we do? What do we do? Like, honestly, I'm honestly trying to ask you guys, because it seems like we always try to do something, to improve upon ourselves, something to help us keep going. Like, there are a lot of pessimists in this world that think the world is going to eventually end. It doesn't look like it's getting any better. The earth is dying, faster and faster as time goes on. So why should I care? I'm going to be dead when this is all over anyway. Well, I'm trying to explain to you that if everybody thinks like that, we're all done for. It's all game over for us if that's what the majority of people think. Now, I am an optimist. I don't want to think that way, and I don't even have the ability to do such things. So if you're telling me straight up, there's nothing we can do, I immediately start looking for things that I personally can do. So maybe remind yourself that ever since, the 60s and 70s, we've been trying to be more, environmentally friendly, trying to protect what's around. And yet still more and more animals become extinct, more plants become extinct because of how we move, how we operate. Like I said, I'm not talking about just America. We're awful. but other countries as well. You know, let's see, Mozambique, Tanzania, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, China, India. Like the list goes on of places with tons of resources and abundance of nature, but they would rather exploit it than to keep it going. There's much more valuable, profit in keeping something going and letting nature thrive than selling it for a quick buck now. So I don't have the answers at all. I just wanted to open up the discussion as to, seriously, what can we do that's not already been said, except for actually doing it, actually getting it done, actually following through, actually making sure we're reaching our goals when we say we're going to reach our goal. They got the Paris Agreement still, up in the air. We have the Green New Deal that I disagree with, but the fact that it's trying to be a step forward helps, I guess. I'm just saying you need to worry about yourself. Think about, like, how do you want this world to look for your great-great-grandchildren or your great-grandchildren or your grandchildren or even your son or daughter right now? Are you proud of yourself? You need to ask yourself that. Because if you don't, people are going to follow in herds. It's that detail in behavioral psychology that when one person moves this direction, a second person moves, and eventually it's a whole horde of people that are moving in one direction. They don't even really understand why, but they keep attracting more people to follow suit because we love to move in packs with like-minded people. So if you don't care, it's a very high chance that the person next to you doesn't care, and next to them, and then the whole community doesn't care. And then that's when society gives up. It's interesting. We have all of the power, really, to actually be efficient, to be nature preserving. It's almost like we need some sort of, Captain Planet superhero to come down and say, you guys better do this or else somebody's getting hurt, and actually threaten us, because it seems like we need some type of mandatory objective in order for us to do what we're supposed to do. If it's an option, we won't do it. I try. I just say we as a whole. I feel like the majority of people don't care. I need to see otherwise. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and go ahead and speak your mind, essentially. I feel like this was a great first episode of this podcast, Nature's Go-Between. And yeah, I definitely feel like I can do this. I feel like going live is much more my style. I love to talk about this subject. I love to think about ideas on the spot and try to figure them out so you guys can see my process as well. So make sure you tune in on the next episode tomorrow. Thanks. Have a good day. Have a good night, wherever you are. Peace.